Coming up on Phillies Nation, presented by BQ Basement Systems, our minor league expert Jay Floyd joins Pat and Corey to discuss Mykel Franco's hot start and more. Ian's back with part 2 of his interview with Phillies great Kurt Simmons. Tommy Green joins us on the mound, and Matt Stairs has hitting tips. Plus, I've got the batter's inbox questions. That starts next here on Phillies Nation.
What's going on, everyone? It is Phillies Nation presented by BQ Basement Systems. It's Pat Gallen and Corey Seibman with you here from the Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall. And joining us is our Phillies minor league contributor from foulballs.com. You know him. He's Jay Floyd, and he's going to break down some of the best players in the Phillies minor league system. So let's start, of course, at the top with Mykel Franco and what he's done so far since the beginning of July, hitting over 300, had a big at-bat on Sunday as well for Lehigh Valley.
No doubt. Franco's a great prospect for the Phillies. He's a guy that was kind of started the season struggling a bit, came into the season as their top prospect, and is a guy that understands the learning process. The best thing about him is that he's now figured out how to hit against veteran, savvy type AAA pitchers. So, a guy that understands the learning process, exciting young prospect who's finally figured it out, really starting to hit really well for the Iron Pigs.
Yeah, the point you just made about facing savvy AAA pitching, I think that's the key point here. Mykel Franco had all these expectations placed on him coming into this season, but you have to remember, he is 6 years younger than the average AAA player. He's still just 21 years old, so despite the early struggles, I still think there's some hope for him. Now, I want to ask you, do you think he'll be up in September? I mean, the Phillies, it's hard to tell what really the plan is here. I mean, It seems like they're trying to win every day while also trying to audition some players. It's hard to do both things. Do you think he'll be up in September playing some first base, playing some third base? Has he earned that right?
I think he's earned it. I think, he's a guy that the Phillies want to see. I think he's a guy that is very, talented, as we've said, and, he brings that youth. That's the factor that the Phillies have been lacking. So why wouldn't you want to give him a little bit of time there around some of the veteran guys before some of those veteran guys are lost?
So how about that big at-bat on Sunday as well, that home run, the walk-off variety for Lehigh Valley. So I think we both believe we'll see him in September. I think that is the right move for the Phillies.
And look, to go along with Jay, I do think that Franco has earned it by hitting well in the second half here, and the Phillies still don't know what they have at third base. Cody Ashley did go 3 for 3 on Sunday. He's hitting just .250 on the season, though, with an OPS below average for a third baseman. So yes, he's still young, but that could be a situation where you see Mykel Franco next year, maybe, if he produces in a situation where he's playing some first, playing some third, and pinch hitting.
All right, let's keep it with the offensive side of things and talk about J.P. Crawford, who went through a little bit of an injury last week, came back. His numbers overall, though, take a look. They have been outstanding through his first 162 games. What are you seeing from J.P. Crawford? I don't know if he's on a fast track a la Aaron Nola, but the kid is making waves at each place he's been at.
Yeah, no doubt. J.P. Crawford is an extremely top prospect for the Phils, batting .297 through his first 163 minor league games, with 10 homers, 35 steals, and an OPS just under 800. So a very exciting prospect for the Phils, and just a couple years away probably from the big leagues.
And he's a slick fielding shortstop too. I think that's the other part here, is that he's not just a guy who was drafted in the first round and is hitting. He plays a premium position. And when I look at this Philly shortstop situation, it kind of reminds me of the Colts quarterback situation, where you went from Peyton Manning all those years straight into Andrew Luck. I could see the Phillies going straight from Jimmy Rollins to J.P. Crawford. What do you think that their target date is to have him up? Could it be 2016? Could it be a little earlier? What are your thoughts?
You're going to want to rush him? I hope not.
No, I don't think a rush is necessary. He's 19 years old now, playing his first season at A-ball, and split the season, was an all-star for Lakewood, having a great performance, great offensive output for the Threshers at high A Clearwater. And I think next year he begins the season at Double A Reading, and then maybe a couple of years after that, you see him opening day with the Phils.
All right, let's flip it to the pitching side, and that is Aaron Nola, who we just spoke about, and through his first 8 starts through the first 9 games. He's looked pretty good, and we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks here. It's that fast track that we've been talking about with Nola, that they hope that he's in the rotation maybe as soon as the beginning of next season. It seems pretty crazy, but the kid looks like he could be ready.
Yeah, Nola's been outstanding as far as just beginning his pro career. 3-3 record with an ERA, right around 3 1/3. So he's a guy that throws mid-90s, can touch higher, and he's billed at 6'1", 195. I think it's been a long season for him, and he's lost some weight. I don't think he's quite right at that 195 any longer. I think he's closer to 170 right now. He's thinned out over the hot summer, but I think you're going to see Aaron Nola with the Phils next season for sure.
he has terrific command numbers, and that was always the scouting report on him coming out of LSU, is that he's a guy who, because he can spot his fastball so well, because he has such good control, that he would be able to make it to the majors pretty quickly. How much has that impressed you? Has that been the thing that stands out to you about Aaron Nola? Because it doesn't seem like he has upper 90s stuff. It just seems like he spots the ball well and could fit into this rotation pretty soon.
Right, his command is the exciting part about Nola. You're going to see, his secondary pitches are solid, and his ability to command the strike zone, and already we talked about pitchers being savvy. He's already got the upper hand on a lot of the competition that he's facing, and he's just 21 years old.
What do you look at him as? Middle of the rotation guy? Is he a 2? Is he a 3? Where do you see him?
Well, I mean, a 2 or a 3 is perfectly fine where he should be if you've got a guy like Cole Hamilton, especially if Cliff Lee sticks around. So 2 or 3, that's an ideal spot for him.
All right, let's go to a guy that we thought might be an ace here in Philadelphia, and that's Jesse Biddle. He's gone through a rough patch this season. He missed 8 whole weeks. He came back and looked pretty decent, but again, bit by the injury bug.
Yeah, I think it's about time to chalk up the 2014 season to a lost injury-plagued season for Jesse Biddle. Let him come back next year fully healthy. Let him begin the 2015 season, hopefully at the AAA level on opening day next year, and he'll get some time in big league camp, get some time with some of the Phillies veteran pitchers, and get to learn from those guys in spring training. I think next year is going to be what you want to look for from Biddle, where this year's been kind of a loss.
I feel like we've been chalking up a lot of minor leaguer seasons lately. Tommy Joseph last year with the concussion issues, Mykel Franco early in the season with his struggles, Jesse Biddle with the health. I got to ask you, Jesse Biddle worked with Roy Halladay. Halladay mentioned when he came back to Philly for that, to get honored, that he had been talking with Jesse Biddle, another pitcher who, like Halladay, very, very conscious and mental of what's going on early in his career. You've talked to Jesse Biddle a lot. Do you get that vibe from him that he really concerns himself maybe with too many things on the mound, is thinking a little bit too much? What are your thoughts there?
Biddle's a guy that does, put a lot of pressure on himself. He understands the expectations of a top pick. He's a guy that grew up a Phillies fan. He wants to be a Phillies pitcher. He wants to be on that Citizens Bank Park mound. So he's a guy that, possibly could overthink things. He would never probably admit to that. But he's a guy that's, he's a bull. He wants to pitch through an ailment, and he tried to do that in his most recent start with Reading, where he was dealing with a quad concern. He tried to pitch through it, and it wasn't very successful for him in that outing.
Jay Floyd, our Phillies minor league contributor. Check him out on PhilliesNation.com and Foul Balls. Jay, we appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
And now Ian Riccaboni with Kurt Simmons. It's part 2 of that great interview. Here it is.
Could you tell us about growing up in the Lehigh Valley and how you got into baseball and if you followed the Phillies at all?
Yeah, well, I was born in '29, so the Phillies, they were around, but nobody knew it because they were real bad, I guess, But anyway, I just liked sports. I played baseball as a kid. I just, and there wasn't much to do in those days, The father went to the cement mill, and the mother was in the house, and the kids said, "Go play," So I was down a small town in Egypt, and I was down the playground at the old grade school. We had a playground there, and that's where I used to go with the gang, and we'd choose sides and play ball. Whatever.
Yeah. Your successes in Legion Ball led you to play on an all-star team, coached by Babe Ruth against a team coached by Ty Cobb, both 2 of the greatest baseball players of all time. What was that experience like?
I was 16, and they chose a kid from each state, and the East played the West. And Babe Ruth was our manager, the East team, and Ty Cobb was the West manager.
Oh, wow.
And Ruth, he chewed tobacco, and he smelled the booze a little bit, and and he was a happy, jolly guy, and Ty Cobb was a grump, and he'd say, "We're gonna beat you guys. We're gonna get you." So anyway, I started the game, and I got a couple runs. My first guy bunted for the other team, and our third baseman threw the ball into the stands in the Polo Grounds. Now the Polo Grounds aren't there anymore, but you have to throw it very high to get it into the stands on a fly. But that was the start of the game. But anyway, I pitched 4 innings, I guess, whatever. So Babe Ruth said, "Go play right field," because I got a base hit or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I played right field, and I ended up hitting a triple in the 9th inning, and we scored a run. We ended up beating them 5-4.
Wow.
We were losing 4-2 in the 9th. So nobody did that much, so they gave me the trophy. I was the All-American boy. I was 16 years old. Anyway, that was the game in the Polo Grounds. But Babe Ruth, our manager.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation. Pat Gallen here, upstairs at Fieldhouse, and the show, of course, brought to you by BQ Basement Systems, and the man behind BQ, Mr. Brian Quinn. Brian, welcome, my friend.
Pat, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, obviously a big Phillies fan. You've had season tickets for quite a while now.
Yeah.
What's been the toughest thing to watch about the team this year?
It's hard to say. Let me think.
Everything?
That's
a
part
good
of it.
start, yeah.
Everything. It's kind of tough to see how many different ways that they could lose.
Yeah.
So it's we got to persevere through.
Yeah.
We're Phillies fans, and
That's what we do.
gotta do it.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Well, one shining part, I guess, of the team has been Cole Hamels. Everyone in town, for a long time with Cole Hamels, people would say, he's not Philly enough. I think he's kind of bucking that trend, don't you?
He's hardcore right now,
Yeah.
and we have a little bit of run support with him.
Finally.
So just a little bit.
We need a little more, though, I think.
A lot.
If we didn't, we need a lot more. All right, so you've partnered up with Phillies Nation once again this year, and we appreciate that. Why'd you choose Phillies Nation?
Well, we only do the best. We're looking to team up with someone who's top notch, and we think that we're top notch as well. So.
To get the word out for BQ Basement Systems, tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing over there.
Okay, we are basement, foundation, crawl space specialists, and we love helping people fix their problems in the basements.
So what do you see in those basements from time to time? I mean, just floods. I mean, what goes on down there that you guys have to fix?
We've seen it all. We've seen someone with a foundation problem where their footings are collapsing, or just mold, mildew.
Yes.
The old mold.
Yeah, we don't want
problem.
that. But you guys help get rid of that stuff?
Yep, we love helping people fix their basements and take care of the problems.
He is Brian Quinn over at BQ Basement Systems. Check them out, bqbasementsystems.com. Brian, we appreciate it, man. Sorry about your fills this year.
Well, next year.
Good stuff, Pat. You ready for some By the Numbers?
I am ready for By the Numbers, so
Cool.
let's do it. It's, of course, brought to you by BQ Basement Systems. Call them today. They'll give you a free estimate on your house, and they have flexible payment options. So, in starting with By the Numbers, let's talk about Ben Revere. Jose Altuve is first in the majors in singles.
Okay.
Ben Revere is second. The issue is he's only got 17 extra base hits this year. But what's odd is that he also is hitting .314 this year with an on-base percentage of just .331. Only 5 players in Major League history have had a batting average over .310 with an on-base percentage under .331. Roberto Clemente was one of those players, and we know all about him. But Ben Revere might join that company if he ends that way.
That's pretty hard to do, hit over 310 with an OBP under 330. It's something we've talked about a lot. Ben Revere just does not walk, and you have to ask yourself, is that valuable? A guy who hits .314, is it the same thing if he has an OBP of 330? I say yes. I'd rather have the singles than the walks any day of the week. My By the Numbers deals with the Oakland Athletics.
Okay.
That Yoenis Cespedes trade on the deadline, I loved it from the Red Sox standpoint. Wasn't as enamored of it from the A's standpoint. I didn't think they really added any value. Yes, they boosted the rotation, but it came at the expense of the middle of their order. Yeah. And, the idea from Billy Beane was that theoretically the A's could replace Cespedes' production in left field with a combination of Stephen Vogt and Johnny Gomes, but it just hasn't worked. The A's, since that deal, have hit .224 as a team, which ranks second worst in baseball, have scored 3.7 runs per game, below 3.7 runs per game, and the issues have been most pronounced in left field, where Cespedes was playing. A's left fielders since the deal hitting .217 with a .250 slugging percentage. That's second worst in baseball. So perfect example of how, with a guy like Cespedes, you can't just look at the numbers. You have to look at the raw skills because they're not always going to be there from a platoon standpoint if you take guys who aren't used to that role.
All right, the A's not hot, but the Kansas City Royals, they are in first place in the American League Central through Sunday, and it's been a long time since they've ended that way. And if it does happen this year, the last time they finished a season 12 games over 500 or better, 1992.
Wow.
It's been a long time coming for the Kansas City Royals. You got to feel good about what they're doing.
Absolutely. It's been a topsy-turvy American League. Everybody thought that the top two teams all year were the Tigers and the Athletics. Well, through the weekend, neither of those teams was in first place.
All right, let's go to our fantasy baseball segment. It's brought to you by DraftKings.com. Fantasy football season is coming soon, so head to DraftKings.com for that. Last week, you went with Jake Odorizzi.
Made me look good. 6 shutout innings, put 3 men on base, and struck out 9. He's still available in half of Yahoo leagues.
I went with Will Myers, also of the Tampa Bay Rays. He hasn't played yet, but he's very close to coming back. So pick him up right now, and especially, as I said, in Dynasty or Keeper leagues. Will Myers is a good player to have. Who do you have for this week?
I have Drew Stubbs, the Rockies outfielder. He started 10 consecutive games because Carlos Gonzalez is now out for the season. Stubbs hitting .294 on the season. Power, speed, very good outfield option the rest of the year.
And another outfield option from the Colorado Rockies, Mykel Franco. Pick him up. He's only played in 31 games so far this season, but we know he's a former batting champion. And when you're playing at Coors Field, you can put up some pretty decent numbers. So keep an eye on those two Colorado Rockies. We're coming right back. Don't go anywhere. It is Phillies Nation.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation. I'm Ryan Williams here with Pat and Corey, and it's time for our Batters Inbox questions, where the guys debate your question and I'll pick the winner. Who's ready?
I'm ready.
I am ready. Let's go.
Okay, our first question. Which Phillies player has surprised you most this season? Corey?
I'm going to go with A.J. Burnett, and it's because I expected more out of A.J. Burnett, signing for $16 million at a 3.40 ERA the last 2 seasons with the Pirates. Just hasn't been A.J.'s year. He's been hurt. He had the hernia earlier in the year. Through the weekend, led all of baseball in losses with 13 and walks with 72. The Phillies have lost 9 of his last 10 starts. He has a 6.54 ERA since the middle of July. Just been a rocky year. He has 8 good starts, then he has 7 lousy starts. And I think from a $16 million pitcher, you expected a lot more.
I'm actually going to go with Cole Hamels, and it's sort of the opposite. I'm surprised by his 2.44 ERA through Sunday, and I'm surprised that he's doing all this because of the way the season has gone. It's been a season filled with turmoil for the Phillies. So it's easy, I wouldn't say shut it down because a starting pitcher or a player is not just going to completely shut it down, but it can be easy to get frustrated, especially with the way that the Phillies offense just never comes through for Cole Hamels. So I think the most surprising part is how good he has been and how he has stepped forward and become a true ace in this league.
Go with you on this one.
All right, I'll take the point.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Corey.
It's okay. It's a good answer.
Our next question comes from a Phillies fan.
Hey guys, I'm here with Henry and his friends from East Falls, and Henry wants to know,
what do you think is the best baseball movie ever?
All right, best baseball movie of all time, I'm going with 42, the Jackie Robinson story. Chadwick Boseman plays Jackie Robinson, does an outstanding job, and it was really cool to see, obviously what Jackie Robinson went through and how they were able to put that into a movie form. And with Harrison Ford playing Branch Rickey, I thought that movie front to back was just outstanding. But also, number 2, a close second, Summer Catch with Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jessica Biel. An outstanding movie, especially when Jessica Biel gets out of the pool in her bikini. Wow, what an incredible scene.
I mean, I can't argue that, but it's not one of my top baseball movies. In terms of my top baseball movie, it's easy to say like Major League, Bull Durham. Those are the most entertaining baseball movies, but from a pure in-game baseball standpoint, I got to say For Love of the Game. It's just, I always found it fascinating watching Kevin Costner, the way he goes through his perfect game and his final start, and you got John C. Reilly as the catcher. Come on now. You got to go For Love of the Game. Minus all the Kelly Preston romantic scenes, I think it is one of the top underrated baseball movies that we've ever seen.
Well, I'm going to give myself a point on that one.
Really?
Because neither of you mentioned Sandlot.
That's true, we did not.
Okay, so you get this point?
Yes.
All right, I'm kind of embarrassed that we didn't do that. All right, fine. You can have the point.
Okay, there we go. Our last question. With under 2 months to go of the season, which 2 teams will be in the World Series come October? Pat?
I'm going to go with the Oakland A's and the St. Louis Cardinals. I know that Corey just talked about the struggles offensively for the Oakland A's, especially after the Yoenis Cespedes trade, but I like that they have a strong 4 at the top of their rotation. They can go up against anyone in the American League. Offensively, they're going to have to get a lot more if they want to get to that point because the Angels, they've closed on them quickly, and the Kansas City Royals, they're another surprise team out there as well. On the flip side, in the National League, I'm going with the St. Louis Cardinals because it's the St. Louis Cardinals. They just seem to end up there every year. I know they're not in first place right now in the Central Division, but they made some pretty good moves at the deadline too, picking up more pitchers, Lackey and Masterson. So you always have to keep an eye on the St. Louis Cardinals. So A's and Cards for me.
I have an all-LA World Series. I have Angels-Dodgers. I've been saying since the beginning of the year the Angels are my World Series pick. The reason for that is with Garrett Richards atop the rotation, Jared Weaver serving as a decent number 2 there, and all the bullpen additions that GM Jerry DiPoto has made, that puts them in position to be in the World Series. And then you look at that lineup. We saw when the Phillies were out in LA recently, it's not just the Mike Trouts and the Pujols and the Hamiltons. It's Howie Kendrick, it's Eric Ibar, it's David Freese, it's Cole Calhoun at the top. It's just one of the most complete lineups in baseball. And then in the NL, I think the only team that can truly contend with the Dodgers for the World Series is the Nationals, but I think that LA's talent level on offense is going to win out.
Probably right, yeah.
Well, you're going to win this one, so we all get a point.
1-1-1.
I will
like
take it.
Well, that wraps up our Batters Inbox questions. Leave us a question for us on our Facebook and Twitter page. More Phillies news is coming right up.
Hi, I'm Tommy Green. Today we're going to talk about teammates and some of my favorite ones that had the most influence on me. And in particular, there's probably a lot on the 93 team, but those guys were in the organization before that too. The leader of everything to me was Darren Dalton. He made me a better pitcher. Understanding how to pitch a little bit better and seeing how he called and suggested pitches helped me out tremendously on the field. The guys I learned from, my veteran leadership as a pitcher, you know, Danny Jackson was huge, the way he went about his business, Terry Mulholland the same way. Off the field, not that I followed Larry Anderson around on the field and watched him and learned how he pitched, but off the field, having fun with that guy in the clubhouse was probably one of the greatest times I've ever had, was with Larry Anderson in the clubhouse. He was one of the classiest guys that took care of guys, the young guys, even though he was the oldest guy on the team. He took pride in that, and it was very enjoyable. Those are some of my teammates that I really look back on it of the current, of Philly guys that really made an influence in my life and owe a lot to.
You know, I think Chase Utley has very good balance, and Chase's his timing mechanism is a little different. If he knows when Chase is hitting, he'll have his hands in here, and as the pitch is delivering, he gets back in here to a loaded position, and his balance is very good. Ryan Howard, when Ryan Howard's going very well, he has that stance where he sits on his backside, and that's with his stance here. His problem is at times is when he is late with his movement, and he has to get down early enough, and he pulls off, and that's why he'll hit a lot of ground balls to the right side or weak fly balls to left field. Timing-wise, or if you're breaking down the guy who had the best stance for balance, either Don Mattingly or Wade Boggs, because these guys would get out over home plate, and they'd sit here, and everything they did was just a little bit of a short movement. A lot of guys will have a lot of movement. Some guys will have a little bit of movement. I like the less movement is more. The more movement you have to try to generate more bat speed. Whereas guys who have the short stance this way and go here, now everything's just a quick contact swing.
Thank you, Tommy, and thank you, Matt. Let's go to our Phillies Nation trivia this week. It's brought to you by Scheib Vintage Sports. Last week, though, the question was this. Kyle Kendrick has an ERA pushing 5, and he'll probably make 30 or more starts with the Phillies this season. The last Philly to make 30 or more starts in a season with an ERA above 5. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
It's Kyle Kendrick. He did it in 2008. How about that?
Nice. You know, Kyle Kendrick, you look at his numbers this year, he's on pace for right around 200 innings, but they haven't been 200 quality innings.
Right.
His ERA's in the mid-4s. He's been pretty lousy the last couple months, and I wonder what kind of free agent contract he's going to end up finding. I thought all year it might be a 3 or 4 year deal at like $7-8 million per year, but now it's looking like a few years less than that.
Yeah, he's certainly setting himself up for a nice payday. Who knows about that now? This week's Twitter trivia question, the hashtag is PNTrivia. Ben Revere, as we talked about, second in the league in singles. Who is the last Philly to lead the majors in singles? You can let us know with that hashtag PNTrivia at Phillies Nation. That's it for us here from Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall, where you can have your fantasy football draft, so make sure you stop by for that. Thank you to BQ. Thank you to the guys behind the camera at 2020. Brian, Mykel as well. Tommy, Matt, the whole crew. He's Corey. I'm Pat. That's it for Phillies Nation. We'll talk to you soon.